Good morning, Year 4. Welcome to English for this morning on this Tuesday. Hope you're all safe and well. Our learning intention this morning, we are going to be trying to make predictions, and we are also going to be trying to identify adjectives within a text. Now, the most important thing about this morning's lesson, and it's the most exciting part as well, we are starting to read our new class book. Okay. Look at the front cover. Now, this is our book. It's called, as you can see, Varjak Paul. I want you to have a little think, okay, about what you think the book might be about. What makes you think that? What do you think might happen? And why do you think that? Now, I want you to spend 2 minutes to begin with just thinking about the answers to those questions. Now, remember, I've always stressed all year, when we make a prediction, okay, you're making an educated guess, a guess based on what you can either see or read in front of you. So I want you to just think, what do you think it's all about, this story, and why do you think that? Okay, now I'm going to give you 2 minutes. If you're in school, I want you to talk to the person next to you. And if you're at home, I want you to talk to an adult or a brother or sister, just somebody that you can chat to. Okay, so press pause while you're doing that for 2 minutes and press play when you're ready to carry on. Okay, welcome back. Now, hopefully you've got some ideas as to what you think the story might be about, and also be able to say why you think that. And what I'm going to ask you to do now is to take those predictions and to put them or add them onto the end of these sentence stems. These are good oracy sentence stems, and they will help you to formulate those predictions and write them down properly into sentences. So you can see the first one there is, I think that the book is going to be about, and then you would say what you think the book was about. And I think this because, and that's your justification. In this story, I think that the cat, and you can add on the end of the sentence, and you think this because. Okay, now, like I say, there is no right or wrong answers with these. What I do want you to have a look at doing, as for our first independent task this morning, I want you to write these prediction sentences into your books, and I want you to use the sentence stems that are up here. As I've said all the way through, remember, a prediction is a guess. It doesn't have to be correct, as long as you can say why or justify those choices. Okay, so I want you to write for me 4 sentences using these sentence stems and telling me what your predictions are and why you think that. Okay, I'm going to give you 10 minutes to do that. If you press pause while you're writing and press play when you're ready to carry on. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you've made your predictions, you've got them written down in your books, and feel free later on to take a picture of all your work today and send it in to me, and we can add it to our website and I can have a little look at it. Okay, and the same for Miss Flukes. So we're going first of all now to look at chapter 1 of the book, and we're going to have a go at reading it together. Now, those of you who are in school will have a copy of the book in front of you. Those of you who are at home, you will find a copy of chapter 1 on Microsoft Teams or on the school website in Tuesday's lesson for English. Okay, if you open it up, it's just a PDF and you can read it off the screen. Press pause now while you're finding your place, okay, in the story. You're either opening up the PDF or finding chapter 1 in the book, and then press play when you're ready to listen and follow me reading. While you are reading, it'll be really good if you can have a look out for some adjectives that describe either Varjak, the main character, or the setting on which the story is taking place. You will need some of those later on, so it's a good idea to be looking out for them as we read. Okay, right, so press pause now and press play when you're ready to hear me start reading. Varjak Paul, chapter 1. The elder Paul was telling a story. It was a Jalal tale, one of the best. Varjak loved to hear his grandfather's tales of their famous ancestor, how Jalal fought the fiercest warrior cats, how he was the mightiest hunter, how he came out of Mesopotamia and travelled to the ends of the earth, further than any cat had been before. But today, the elder Paul's tale just made Varjak restless. So what if Jalal had such exciting adventures? Varjak never would. Jalal had ended his days in the Contessa's house. His family of Mesopotamian blues had stayed here ever since. The old place must have been full of light and life in Jalal's time, generations ago, but now it was full of dust and musty smells. The windows were always closed, the doors locked. There was a garden, but it was surrounded by a high stone wall. Jalal was the last to cross it. In all the years since then, no one had ever left the Contessa's house. Now, no one except Varjak was even listening to the tale of Jalal's adventures. Father, mother, and Aunt Junie were dozing in the late afternoon light that trickled through the thick green windows. His big brother Julius was flexing his muscles. His cousin Jasmine was fiddling with her collar. His litter brothers Jay, Jethro, and Jerome were playing one of those kittenish games that Varjak could never see the point of and wasn't allowed to join in anyway. No one was looking at him. This was his chance. He'd been in the garden before, but the family didn't like it out there and never let him stay very long. Stealthily, as Jalal himself, Varjak rose up and padded to the cat door. He could see the garden on the other side. He could almost feel the fresh air brushing through his whiskers. He nudged it open. "Varjak Paul!" It was father. "Where do you think you're going?" Varjak spun around. The tale was over. They'd woken up and seen him, but this time he wouldn't give in. "Aren't we allowed in the garden now?" he said. "Sweetheart," said mother, coming over and straightening his collar, "the garden is a nasty, dirty place. You're a pedigree cat, a purebred Mesopotamian blue. What do you want out there?" Varjak looked around at the stuffy furniture, the locked-up cupboards, the curtains he wasn't allowed to climb. He'd never been anywhere else, but this had to be the most boring place on earth. "Hunting," he said. "Aren't we supposed to hunt? The tales talk about tails," snorted his big brother Julius, green eyes glinting. It was said that their ancestor Jalal had green eyes. Everyone in the family had them. Everyone but Varjak Paul. "Tails are for kittens," scoffed Julius. Cousin Jasmine giggled. Varjak bristled. "Jalal was a long, long time ago," said mother, smoothing and grooming Varjak's silver blue fur until he wriggled away. "Anyway, Jalal came to live in the Contessa's house for a good reason. The tales also say that there are monsters outside, huge monsters called dogs, so fierce that even people fear them." She shuddered. "Ooh, no, we're lucky that the Contessa loves us and lets us live here." "The Contessa loves some of us," interrupted Julius. Varjak knew what was coming. And worse, he thought it might be true. "When I was a kitten," boasted Julius, "the Contessa was down here every day. She used to let me play on her lap. She made a fuss of me. But now she only ever comes down to feed us, and sometimes she doesn't even do that. In fact, we've hardly seen her at all since that funny-looking Varjak was born." Cousin Jasmine giggled again. This time, Varjak's litter brothers, Jay, Jethro, and Jerome, joined in. "It's because of his eyes," added Julius, "the colour of danger. A Mesopotamian blue whose eyes aren't green. It's an embarrassment." That did it. Julius was bigger than him and older, but Varjak couldn't help it. He faced up to Julius, his fur rising with anger. I don't believe you, he said. You're a liar. Varjak, said Father, that's no way to talk to your brother. But Julius said, whine, 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 sneered Julius. Listen to the little insect whine. Julius, you shouldn't tease him so much, said Father. The Contessa's upstairs because she's ill, nothing more. But Varjak Paul, you have to learn to behave like a proper Mesopotamian blue. We're noble cats, special cats. We don't run around calling each other liars. We don't talk about disgusting things like hunting. And we don't get our paws all muddy in the garden. That's not what being a blue is about. Do you understand? Varjak's tail curled up. It was always like this. Julius could get away with anything, but everything Varjak did was wrong. Your father's talking to you, said Aunt Junie sternly. Do you understand? He stared down at the cold stone floor, silent. There was nothing he could say. Fine, said Father. Suit yourself. But until you learn to act like a blue, there'll be no supper for you. He licked his chops. Come on, everyone, let's eat. They all headed down the corridor to the kitchen, leaving Varjak on his own in the hallway between the stairs and front door. Last to go was the elder Paul, the head of the family. Don't worry, Varjak, he whispered so no one else could hear. I'll tell you another Jalal tale tonight, one about his greatest battle. He winked and then joined the rest of them. It made things a little better. Even if the tales made Varjak restless, he loved them. They were the closest he'd ever get to adventure in this place. He looked at the old wooden stairs covered in dusty carpet. The cats weren't allowed up there now. The Contessa was ill. Her door was always shut. The whole house was like that. No one came in and no one went out. Nothing new or exciting ever happened. It was the dullest life a cat could have. The front door swung open. A blast of wind swirled in, sweeping all the dust into the air. Varjak's fur stood on end. Click, clack. Two shiny black shoes, each big as a cat. Coming through the door, heart racing, Varjak bent back his head to follow the line above the shoes. Up a pair of legs, up some more. He saw huge white hands, huge enough to hold his whole body, strong enough to break his neck. He had to crane back even further till it hurt to see the face. It was a man Varjak had never seen before. It was hard to make out the man's eyes for the shadows of his brow, but his full pink lips glistened wetly in the half light. The lips creased and opened, and out came a voice that rumbled like thunder. Far above Varjak's head, the man strode into the hallway. Varjak felt dizzy. He looked down. By the man's shiny black shoes, there were two sleek black cats, stalking into the Contessa's house. They were nothing like Mesopotamian blues. They looked much larger and stronger even than Father or Julius, and there was something frightening about the way they moved, as if they were two parts of one body, working together perfectly. Too perfect. Varjak glanced from one to the other and couldn't tell them apart. They came right up to him and looked down at him with identical eyes, eyes as smooth and black as their fur. He trembled. "Who are you?" he said. There was no flicker of understanding in their eyes, no expression, nothing. They just pushed him aside as if he wasn't even there, and took up positions flanking the staircase. And now other men came into the house. Their shiny black shoes clicked past Varjak, one by one by one. It was all he could see of them. Frozen to the spot, mind spinning, he watched these giants pass the black cats, climb the stairs, and enter the room where the blues weren't allowed to go. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the first chapter. It's quite an exciting story already, I think. What I want to do this morning is I'm going to give you, for the second part of our independent learning this morning, I want to give you a chance to look back at the story, and I want you to think of as many adjectives that describe Varjak or the setting as you possibly can. So you might have to have a little look, or you will have to have a little look through either the PDF or the book itself, and I want you to make a note of any words that might describe Varjak, or any words that might describe the setting. Now you could create a little chart like this and have adjectives that describe Varjak on one side and the setting on the other. That might be a quick and easy way for you to do it. Okay, now I'm going to give you probably a quarter of an hour, 15 minutes to have a little go at this. Try and find as many words as you possibly can and then come back together. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to press pause wherever you are, either in school or at home, and then I want you to find those adjectives. Okay, so press pause now. Okay, welcome back. Now, hopefully you've managed to work your way through the chapter, just trying to pick out some adjectives that describe. Now, I've written a few on here. Okay, I've written a few onto here. And as you can see, I've got restless, stealthy, purebred, bristled, silver blue fur, noble, and special. I'm sure there are more. I'm sure you have more, but they're the ones I just picked out, just quickly skimming through the text. Now, in terms of the setting, I think the author goes out of his way, or the author goes out of its way, to describe the setting, but to try and make it seem as dull, depressing, boring, sad as they possibly can. Because that all adds into the story and helps Varjak to make the decisions that he does later on in the chapters to come. So I just found a few here. There was old, musty, high stone wall. Okay, now that made me feel like the garden was a bit of a prison. Okay, it's almost like a prison wall. It's going to keep everybody inside. Nobody will find it easy to escape. Thick green windows, again, difficult to get through. Stuffy furniture, that suggests that it's old, dusty, and we've got dusty down here as well. The word musty has been used. It just feels like it's an old house, and that the owner, who's quite old, as I think as well, an older lady, has allowed the house to end up in this kind of state. Now, I'm sure again you might have found some other words that go with this as well. And what I want you to do is, using those words, I want you to have a little go, just as a final task for this morning's English lesson. I'd like you to have a go at writing some sentences that describe Varjak in his setting. So you might want to try using or creating expanded noun phrases. We haven't used them for a little bit since before Christmas. It'll be a good thing for us to remind ourselves how to use them. And in this case, I put an example here. I said the noble silver blue cat peered out of the thick green windows. I think it's just below there, look, windows. Okay, so I've taken some of the adjectives from this side, and here I've put two together to create an expanded noun phrase there, noble silver blue cat. And then I've also got the thick green windows. Again, we've got a bit of an expanded noun phrase going on there as well. Have a little look, have a little play, just come up with a few of those sentences, just to finish off this morning's English. Okay, maybe you could come up with 2 or 3 of them and write them in your book. Don't forget, send a picture of what you've done, or if you can, on Microsoft Teams, or email it to us, to both either myself or Ms. Flukes, and we'll have a good look at them. We'll put them on the website where we can and share all your ideas with each other. And like I say, hopefully you'll really enjoy this story. It's a book that I'd never read until last year, but I love it, and I think it's really good fun, and I think you will too. Okay, so take care for today, and we'll see you in tomorrow's English.